Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second session of our Women in History series and celebrating Women's History Month. I am William Wainwright. I serve as Chancellor of North Shore Technical Community College, and I am deeply humbled to be surrounded by these incredible women in leadership, many in this room who had a significant influence on my leadership. So I look forward to this incredible series. I want to thank you all who participated thus far. We have much more to come. With no further ado, I will turn it over to Dr. Christy Montgomery, our Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Diversity, and Inclusion, and she will proceed with our introductions. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are super excited about this second session of our Women's History series, where we are highlighting women who have made an impact at North Shore Technical Community College, past and present. And we're also going to be speaking to women in the future. The motive of this particular event was to bring women together who have walked this journey at North Shore, who are currently walking the journey, to encourage those who may have aspirations to one day become a leader, specifically to women who have aspirations of becoming leaders in the college setting, and kind of wanted to give you some information on how maybe you can navigate that and be the best in your role. So we're super excited about this. We're so glad to have Ms. Kayla Cooper with us, who is one of our up-and-coming women in our college. She's one of our younger staff members who is thriving and advancing in the college. And so we thought it would be fitting that she ask the questions on today. So I'm going to turn the floor over to her at this time.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Montgomery. So hello to all of you wonderful ladies.
Hi, hello.
This is going to be a very conversational session that we're having here. So some of the questions will apply specifically to one individual, and the others will just kind of be open. Our first question is going to be for Ms. Alford. If you other ladies feel like you want to add after she's finished, feel free to do so. So the first question is, give us a brief description of your career journey, specifically related to your role at NTCC.
Okay, so I started around 7 years ago as an adjunct for psychology, teaching at the Hammond area campus, and a couple semesters just kind of dipping my toe in the higher ed water. I came on as a full-time faculty member at the Connect to Success campus, which is our partnership with Southeastern. And after a couple years there, accepted a position for online learning coordinator, and still was able to teach psychology, which is, my first love as far as higher education. So teaching a little bit, supporting faculty, that role was great. Anything from course design to software development for this rapidly growing online course design that we're now, fully in the middle of, all of us, whether it was your choice or not. And then about a year ago, accepted the position for Department Chair of Behavioral Sciences. So I work closely with our Associate Provost for academics, and still able to teach psychology, love the students in the classroom as well, but now able to support faculty in a little bit different way, working with administration to just offer all classes that our students could need to get their associate's degrees, their certificates, and then for those that are interested in our transfer pathways moving on.
Well, thank you for everything that you have done.
And can we get all of the panelists to answer that specific question so everybody kind of knows what their journey is at the college?
Dr. Leader.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lizette Leader, and I am currently the Associate Provost of Academics, and I also oversee our Connect to Success program located on Southeastern Louisiana University's campus. I started at North Shore Technical Community College as an instructor, and I was very pleased with my experiences with students in our higher education. It was amazing to watch students grow and embrace the new stage of their life and work towards their passion area so that they can achieve their academic goals. And then soon after, I became the director of the Connect to Success program, which is a transfer pathway program between North Shore and Southeastern. And currently, I continue to oversee that program, and I also am the Associate Provost of Academics.
I am Dr. Christy Montgomery. I serve as Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Diversity, and Inclusion for the college. When I started at North Shore, I started as a assistant director of student affairs. At that time, it was a student success administrator, and I was at our Hammond area campus. That's where I kind of got my feet on the ground at North Shore. From there, I transitioned to assistant provost of student affairs, and over the years, that position kind of evolved as our college grew to add on several different departments. It grew to associate provost of student affairs, and then now vice chancellor of student affairs, diversity and inclusion. My particular position covers all of the student affairs relations of the college, so financial aid, admissions, student activities, student conduct, Title IX, pretty much all of the areas that support our students throughout the college fall under my division. And I'm also a licensed professional counselor, so the mental health components and just basically student health components also fall under my division. I've been with the college going on 8 years.
Thank you very much, Dr. Montgomery. We're going to go to Ms. Taylor.
Hello, I'm Debra Taylor, and my career at North Shore started actually at Sullivan Vocational Technical Institute back in 1978. I'm retired now. I've been retired 12 years. When I started in 1978, I started in a part-time position. I held a full-time job, and I worked at Sullivan part-time as the director of their evening programs. And in September of 1979, I was hired in that same position as a full-time position, and I was placed in charge of the accounting department, financial aid. I still supervised all of the evening and extension programs. And at that time, our makeup was a little different. I supervised the office workers and basically all night programs and any extension programs connected to the campus.
Thank you.
And I did that for 29 years.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Tinney.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tinney, and I serve as Chancellor of Nunez Community College, but I had a journey that for North Shore began in 2013 here. I had always worked in academia and knew I wanted to work for the community college system again, and an opportunity came up for Dean of Academics here at the college, and it was such an interesting time to be joining the North Shore team. It was a time when they were also beginning a journey, and it was towards the SACS accreditation. And as Dean of Academics, we were building out all of our gen eds and really unifying all of the campuses collectively in terms of their general education requirements and that area of the academic programming. And I had the opportunity to just come on board and meet an incredibly passionate and committed group of people dedicated to serving students. And it just really energized me in what can we do at this college. And it was just an incredible developmental time, I think, for the college and also myself. I enjoyed being the Dean of Academics. We worked very closely, not with just all the colleges, but the Connected Success program. So to see that program grow has been definitely gratifying underneath all the leadership that's followed. And I moved from the Dean of Academics to the Vice Chancellor of Strategic Initiatives. And when that job opportunity came available, my first question is, what is it? what does Vice Chancellor of Strategic Initiatives mean? And I learned very quickly that it was an opportunity to strategically, as you said, put your toe in the water of every piece of the college. And so it exposed me not only to the general ed and academic side of the house, but to the workforce side of the house, to the adult education side of the house, to the philanthropic advancement efforts, and remained in that role. So I was with North Shore for 7 years, and then had an opportunity that became available because of the experience that I garnered here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tinney. Thank you all, ladies. I'm now going to go to our second question for you, Mrs. Taylor. Forgot about the mask situation. Ms. Taylor, you were the first African-American female administrator in the Louisiana Technical College system back in 1979, and you served 29 years as an associate dean. What was it like serving in your role as a woman?
As a woman, Kayla, back in 1979, to be able to serve in that position as associate dean was exciting. It was very challenging, very challenging. It was a breath of fresh air. It provided a tremendous opportunity and served as a great accomplishment for me as a woman and as an African-American woman. Because back, if you know the history of the campus where I spent most of my time and of the system actually, back in 1979, they were not too favorable to hiring people of color. So it was a breath of fresh air. It was as if a door had been opened, not only for me, but the community felt it as well. I could go to the grocery store and I'd get hugs. We're so proud of you. We're so glad that you're there. So though it was challenging, it was also an exciting time because it opened the door for many people to come after me. When I walked on that campus in 1979, there was only one other African-American instructor. There was only one other African-American that was an office assistant. And there were 3 African-American men that were all hired in maintenance. So it was very challenging, but it was also exciting. And I was just glad to have the opportunity to be placed in that position, that the door could be open for many others to follow suit. Now, at that time, I did not even realize, was not made aware of the fact that I was the first. It was a few years before I actually realized that I was the first African-American woman to serve in a position as that. But I was up for the task, and I did it not only for me, and it presented a lot of challenges, but I was ready to deal with the challenges for others to come behind me.
Thank you for that, all of that. Thank you. That was really enlightening. My next question is for Dr. Tinney. Dr. Tinney, you were the first female vice chancellor at NTCC when you were selected as vice chancellor of student affairs. What was the experience like for you?
As I said, it was a great experience. I was coming into North Shore at a time when I could feel the synergy between all of the campuses and the people coming together. So, I really just felt like I was part of a fabric at this college. I truly did. The time that I had here, that I experienced, it was really an opportunity to bring people together from the different campuses as they were working towards, which I'm very proud to say that they achieved their SACS accreditation, because it's such a journey. So, so for me, I hate to sound naive, but I never really, as you said, embraced it as, oh, you're the first vice chancellor as a female here at the college. I'm not really sure that I've stopped working to think about it too much, other than to say that it was it was truly something that I look back on today in the position that I hold right now. And I still draw from that because we are a college that has one campus, and you look for those opportunities. How are you bringing people together? Because you've learned so much from the work that was done to bring so many different people together. But it's really just mission driven. So for me, I think that it was just an opportunity to use that to just now continue to remind people of the work that we do and to be mission driven as an institution.
Thank you for all of that as well. My next question, I'm going to direct it to you, Dr. Leader. However, after she's finished, if any of you ladies want to add to it, feel free to do so. As a woman, what has been your greatest strength that aided in your professional advancement?
There are lots of things that I believe that have brought me to the place that I'm in right now. But I think probably one of the greatest things that has brought me to this position has been my true passion for what I do. I thoroughly love to come to work every day. It's my life. I love the people I work with. I love the students that I come in contact with. I love my work. So I think that that's very important. If you're passionate about what you do and you have a true calling, then it's not work. It's just part of your everyday life because that's what energizes you. And at the same time, you're energizing others. I also think it's very important to surround yourself with people that you can learn from. And it's very important to surround yourself with people that have a variety of different backgrounds because that enriches you because you learn from their experiences as well as your own experiences. I think it's very important when you do that, that you receive their thoughts and their perspectives, even if you disagree with them, because if you're open and you listen to what others say and you learn from them, it helps to make the decisions that you make as an institution, decisions that positively impact a variety of different people from a variety of different backgrounds. So I think that that's very, very important. I think it's important not to be intimidated by others. I think we all have to work together as women, but we also have to work together as a team, men, women, together, because if we all work together and we focus on the mission, as Dr. Tinney referenced, we are just strong together. And so if you focus on your work, you focus on your mission, you're passionate about what you're doing, and you learn from each other and work together, I think that that's what helps you grow professionally, and it helps positively impact the lives of others at the same time.
I think Dr. Leader, she brings out a very strong point when she talks about the people around you and learning from them. I know personally for myself, one of the strengths that I feel I embody is that I'm constantly looking around me for wisdom, for challenge, for mentorship. I'm constantly looking for that person who's been there, done that, who can pour something into me, because while I want to, in many instances, be like that individual, I also want to learn from that individual. I want to know what you did right, but I also want to know what you did wrong, because I want to try to make a stronger impact if I can. And again, not being intimidated by someone who is in a higher position or has more authority or who has advanced, but really embracing that individual to say, let me kind of, in a sense, sit at your feet and learn from you. Not being jealous of you. And for me, seeing that example, I was blessed to have that example in my household. For those who don't know, Ms. Taylor is my mom. So I watched her walk that journey every day of my life, in every aspect of her life. So that is kind of one of my secret weapons, I would say, is the fact that I was able to see it lived out every day, what leadership was. What it looked like, how leadership should carry themselves, even with Dr. Tinney being the first VC, I was able to sit at her feet, watch her walk through that journey, and kind of teach me the way. And you have to be humble and willing to be challenged and understand that you're not always right to fully get that full grasp and knowledge and wisdom from individuals. I think a lot of times younger people, we struggle because we think I've been to school, I've got this, I know what I'm doing, but it's very beneficial when we just take a step back and say, let me just listen for a moment, because time and experience teaches you a whole different lesson that a classroom will never teach you. So that point it really resonates with me, because I feel that that's where most of my development has come from, has been just sitting around people who have been there and learning and listening to them.
Can I jump on this panel real quick? I agree 100% with both you're saying. When I came here, fresh in my admin position, I come to you and just about anybody, like, tell me what I can do, give me advice, and I'm always open for it. And what I love about this place in general is that everybody in leadership, woman or man, I'm coming to the woman most likely, but they're all willing to push you to be better. Nobody wants you to just kind of stay where you are. So it is very true what you're saying. Be willing to take that advice and just listen and follow whatever. And I appreciate having this in here and you guys speaking the truth, because it really is. You have to be willing and open to do it. You guys are setting a great example for it. For myself and other people that will come behind, I get emotional. But thank you. You guys made really good points, and I appreciate that.
We love you, Kate.
I just want to echo that, because the question was, what are your strengths that brought you here? What both of these ladies just shared, you just can't say that loud enough, because you have to be able to listen, right? And I always shared this story because my background was biology, and so that path, those classes, the PhD program, you take different things from your entire experience, but biology is about appreciating the diversity of life, right? And you see it and you hear it and you experience it. You have to listen to it. And as I will say this though, since this is the panel discussion for women, you have to be very intentional about who you listen to.
Yes.
Because you will, as you go through and navigate your journey, you will hear a lot. You will come into the context of a lot of diverse thought and perspective and opinion, and you filter it and you respect it, and then you learn from it, right? So the listening is important. Be careful who you listen to, and then take it all collectively, holistically, as you make those decisions in terms of how it impacts you and the people around you.
Great panel. Okay, so anybody else have input for that question? Okay, we'll go to the next one. Next question, Dr. Montgomery. Let's talk about work-life balance.
What is that?
What is that? That's the definition. Each of you have families, and I'm sure you have many other obligations outside of your career. How do you manage it all?
How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? It becomes very difficult. I have to be truthful with that. You have to, number one, identify what's priority in your life. What is the most important thing? And I hate to keep referring back to them, but Dr. Tinney and I were having a conversation in her office. This was before I became a mom, and we were talking about family. And one piece of advice she gave me, she says, Christy, I don't care what your aspirations are. Never put your family on hold for your career, because at the end of your career, your family will still be there. And so you have to always keep them in the forefront of your thinking. Make sure that you're there for those moments that you can't have back when they're small. And that really set in for me. It helped me to kind of put some things in perspective, because at that time I was just kind of driven career. And I had to kind of step back and say, you know what? where does my true value lie? Yes, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. This is my purpose. This is what I'm called to do in life. But I'm also called to be a mom and a wife. And I can't put that on the back burner because I'm pursuing my career. So creating balance is making sure that you're putting the first things first. Don't negate your personal life, your family, your mental health. You know, we have to do self-care, which we don't do well enough. We don't, you know, preaching to the choir on that one. We don't take time to really take care of ourselves. And if you continue to just be driven toward that career goal and you don't take care of yourself, you don't take care of your family, one day you look around and say, wait a minute, I've accomplished all of these material things, but where's my joy? Where's my peace? Where's my happiness? And so I think that you have to just keep in your mind that even though this is important, all of those things are as well. So scheduling things, making sure you're intentional about spending time with your family, making sure that you're intentional about spending time just with yourself, being intentional about those things, making sure you're engaged in things that you just like to do, that you don't have to do, is good self-care. So just trying to balance those things and then giving yourself a break, knowing that you're gonna drop the ball every now and then. You're gonna miss the soccer game. You're gonna miss an appointment. You're not gonna be able to be engaged in every event that the college has. You have to balance it out and really make sure that you're thinking about what's best for you as the individual so that you can be the best for those around you.
Thank you. Did anybody want to add to that?
Add to that, yeah. I mean, that's, of course, echo. I think we're all having the same experience, and I think naming the priorities, identifying your list of what's important, and then creating very strong boundaries around those things. So once you identify your priority list, you can't just let everything spill over into every lane, and your social calendar and your job, you know, is going to have a lot of opportunities. You know, you have to kind of make the decision. Do you want to do a couple of things really, really well, or do you want to try to be a part of everything and maybe not do any of those with the level of quality that you're happy with? And sometimes you're fortunate to have a great boss who will tell you, I want you to do these couple of things really well. You might have a boss that's not aware of that and is just throwing things at you, and it's just like a fire hydrant. And you have to say, I can do a couple of these really well, or I can kind of pitch in with everything. And so finding that balance for yourself so that you don't miss out on self-care, you know, alone time or time with family or friends, whatever is important to you. But the boundaries are important. And there's a lot of conversations over the last decade, but saying no is so healthy, you know, to say no to some so you can say yes to others, you know, and it's very guilt-ridden for a lot of people to let someone down when a request is thrown on the table. But we do have priorities that don't always involve our, you know, 8 to 5 jobs. And so boundaries and saying no.
I was just gonna chime in on the priorities part of it. Both these ladies spoke well on establishing priorities, because I always kept in mind, you know, it does not matter how successful you are if you are not successful with family. So the family, we cannot afford to neglect the children, the spouse, and things of this nature. So prioritizing, because when you do retire and you look back on it, and also what Christy said about making sure that you take care of yourself, spend time with yourself, your health, your happiness, you know, while we're doing these things for others, make sure that you do that for yourself. If not, at the end of that career, you will look back and you will really resent if you did not prioritize and take the time that's needed for yourself.
And I'll just add, thinking about that day, Christy came into the office, and we had many conversations, but just a few things, because I heard, Sarah, you mentioned about 40 hours, you know, you have from outside the 9 to 5, but in this journey, the jobs as you navigate and you get into these positions of leadership. These aren't 40-hour jobs anymore. You know, there's not. And so I'll be quite honest, that advice came on the heels of some serious decision-making along my career. I had the opportunity to speak to someone the other day that I worked with, and she shared with me that she's incredibly intelligent. She can do whatever she wants, but she made a decision that she was taking a position at a school where her children were going to be so that she could bring them to school, bring them home. And I had made that decision early on, and I don't regret that for 1 second. My children are older, and so I have the opportunity to dedicate, you know, my passion, my commitment, my time, the way that I do now. I don't know, I don't know necessarily how I would have balanced it, to be honest. So that priority and decision making, I always, even today, when people come to me, I encourage them to take care of their families, take care of yourself, and make those decisions. As I said, my children are older now, so they are married and have lives of their own. But you're absolutely right. You know, not being there for some of those events, that's time that you can't replicate.
I'd like to just mention, it was funny because I was in my office earlier last week, and we had just sent out information about this panel. And I had one of our team members that came into my office and said, I saw you sitting on that panel. Are you going to talk about the real truth and what it's really like to try to balance work, personal life, and so forth? Like, are you going to be honest and say how difficult it is? And so I promised her that we would be very honest, and I think we are. And I can say people impact your lives that you don't even realize. I mean, Dr. Tinney, she might not remember this, but years ago when I worked with her closely at Connect to Success, I can remember it was an evening and I was taking pictures of my children by the lake with my husband, and I were with them with the dog by the lake. And I sent those pictures to her, and she was saying, Lizette, cherish that time with your kids. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy that everything else will come. Everything else will come. And she's exactly right. And I think another thing that we have to remember is we have to be forgiving of each other. Mm-hmm. Because when we're running in the door a little bit late, or we have to leave a little bit early, as women, honestly, let's be honest. Who's our hardest critic? Each other, right? Women are our hardest critics, right? So remember, we don't know what happened before they walked in that door, or why they might have to be leaving early, or why their door's closed, or why they're checking their phone. We don't know what might have happened in their lives. And so I think it's very important that we all recognize sometimes we neglect our family and sometimes we neglect our job a little bit here and there, because there is no true balance. We give a little bit here, we take a little bit here, and the next day we flip-flop. I mean, that's just life. But as women, I think it's very important that we support each other. And I think as leaders, since we're talking about that today, those are the type of leaders that we want to be. We want to support each other. We want to have understanding. We want to be kind to each other. And I think when you do that, everything else takes care of itself.
I just have to say this. I'm sorry. It's about support. Thank you for saying that. I had an aunt that I loved and adored who was a mentor to me. And she would tell me, Tina, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you've got to find that support, because as women, you do feel that responsibility, that guilt, is dinner cooked? Do the kids have homework? You need to, all of that is a priority, and you need to get that done. And I remember somebody, saying to me one time, oh, well, my wife takes care of all that. And I was like, I wouldn't want to, like, where do you get money? Like, we do it. So we just do it. And we're not really thinking about the fact that we've got 2 full-time jobs between our families and our homes and our kids, and also contributing to, our quality of life for our families. So that support is critical. And where you get it from, whether, get it from a spouse, get it from the people that you work with, from other family members, but really don't, to have that idea of guilt if you're not there, or to feel that you can do it all, that you're superwoman. I mean, some of that is just a fallacy. You've got to have a support network around you, so.
And you know what, I'm gonna add this in right here, because a little birdie sends me little tidbits of things we may want to discuss, because when we talk about a pandemic, thanks Birdie, but when you talk about a pandemic, right, where kids are at home now, right, virtual learning, matter of fact, for a while, we all were home.
Right.
Y'all, when the pandemic happened, I was the cafeteria lady, I was the custodian, I was the person on IT, and my child is 3, right? But having to make sure there were meals on the table, making sure that she was okay instead of still learning something at home. My husband is there and he's got work going on, but also things he needs and support. That stretched me to a place that I had never been stretched. And, it really, though, pointed to me that we are expected to do it all. We are expected. When something happens at school, we get the phone call and we have to stop what we're doing to figure out what's going on. We are expected to do it all. And so that's why I stress so much about that one piece of self-care, because it's very easy when all of those demands are there to lose yourself. And if you lose yourself, you can't be effective for anyone else. And so we have to be intentional, preaching to the choir. We have to be intentional about just taking a step back and being okay if we are not at the house doing what everybody else needs for an hour or two. Right. And I think that comes back into there's a certain level of guilt that we have when we step away for a moment to take a deep breath, or when we have to miss an event. So we have to also internally balance that and understand that while we are expected to be all things to all people, we're not superhuman. Right. We're still human and we have to balance. But the pandemic really kind of shined the light on all of the expectation and all the things that we really balanced and kind of added it 150%, right? And the expectation did not decrease.
Right? I think it's important too to lean on our spouses, significant others, our parents, our siblings, whoever is in your support system, because there are people there, even at work, that want to help you. And as women, we're so used to trying to do everything ourselves. But like you said, be intentional and have that time with your spouse, because they want to help you, and your parents and your siblings and your work friends and teammates, because it takes all of us. It takes all of us. So I agree.
That was the number one question. Okay. Ms. Taylor. Your next question is, what are some challenges that female leaders must navigate that you feel are not present or as pressing for our male counterparts?
Okay, some of the challenges, and I only can speak from what I dealt with. There was always a mindset that maybe we really didn't belong there. And it was a challenge to try to help change that mindset, mainly by focusing and just being who you were every day, walking in integrity, having a passion, as Dr. Leader said, for what you do, and not allowing people to change who you are. There's always been this, well, there was that, I'm hoping that all of this is beginning to change or has changed. There was always this mindset that the leader should be a male, and that as far as for equal pay and all of this, even after you got in those positions, it was never, it was always the mindset that the male should have the bigger salary or the greater salary. Even though you worked and you worked as hard, it was just that mindset is what I'm trying to say, was always there, always present. And I don't feel like our male counterparts had to deal with it. So that was what I dealt with when I was there.
Thank you. Anybody wants to
Yeah,
answer?
I'll say too, you know, it's interesting to think about. I love that she said, you know, the doors were coming open, you know, in the late 70s when she accepted her position. And I think, you know, there's beautiful differences of men and women, and we should celebrate those things, but they have made being in leadership difficult also. We're talking about, you know, our social roles and the demands of society, that we're primary caregivers for children and aging parents, and we're the first phone call, you know, when the child needs something from school or from daycare. So I'm glad the doors are opening. We're just in a unique place. The doors are open. We want to walk through them as female leaders, but we still got this leftover automatic roles that we fulfill that make it impossible to do all of those things all at once. And so what do we give up? What do we share with our partners and our families? I just think in general, the pay has gotten better, but it's not equal. We've closed the gap a lot, I'm proud to say, but it's not equal. And then family construction. I just thought of family construction, just constructing your family. Is not something that we discuss with males in the workplace, but we're obsessed with it when it comes to females. Females can become pregnant and actually produce children. That's unique. And so a lot of those topics are kind of floating around as roles in our life, but whether you're building a family or you're not building a family, or did you build it early or you built it late, there's always questions. Why? I mean, it's so nosy and invasive. I'm like, there are other things to have small talk about other than having babies. So let's have small talk about things, not only about whether you're married or you have children or what's your plan in that area, which is beautiful, but at the same time can feel really constraining when you're talking about walking through leadership doors. And fulfilling the roles that you choose in your life. So I think that balance, we don't have those conversations with males. They don't carry that mom guilt, you know, it's out there. Whether or not we grab it and take it on for ourselves is a constant struggle. So.
I'll add to that simply because of the topic of this whole panel discussion. As you navigate as a woman in leadership, if you don't walk through those doors because you make a conscious decision, are you putting your career on hold, right? Or you worried about that because that can be interpreted on a resume as a timeout, when in fact you've dedicated all your time and energy there. So I think that's something that maybe is not on the forefront of the male mind as much as the female mind. I had a conversation before I came to this panel discussion with a female employee who wanted to discuss her position at the college. I shared with her a comment, and it's similar, Ms. Taylor, to what you were saying, for should they be there, right? Should they be there? She wanted to apologize. You know, I want to discuss this with you. I said, you have every right and you must advocate for yourself always. And she's doing a great job. I said, it's interesting that something that I don't know that is the same experience, but I've always shared that a male will oftentimes get promoted on potential, whereas a female proves herself in order to feel like she moves forward for a promotion. And it's a little different, particularly when you factor in when you ask about what are the challenges, the family obligations or the decisions, whatever they may be, if it's not children, but some other decision, and maybe it's caring for an elderly parent, or, you know, something that they make a decision because we're nurturing as a female, and we do that. Does it circumvent in some cases? Because my argument is that you have to be at the table. And if that happens to be a table that's all males, you still have to be at that table because that table's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to share your value, and you have to say, this is what I've done, or this is what I'm capable of doing, or this is what I will do. You know, and I will also say this, just because of the unique situation, while I have this opportunity, serving in the position I have, when you say what keeps you up at night, it is fair, equitable pay for everyone because of the job that they do, not because of their gender, not because of their race. I can tell you that I think we are at an interesting time. I'm very, very proud. I have to say, I'm very, very proud of the opportunity I have, but of this system. We have 3 female chancellors in the system. There is a lot of opportunity where female leadership is really valued. We have these conversations, and they want to advocate and support other female leaders. So I'm very proud to have the opportunity to be a part of this system. When we move toward a fair, equitable pay model, and I know many of our system counterparts are using pay scale, those salaries are based on the job description. It doesn't ask, you know, who you are or anything. So I think we're making strides. I agree. I don't think we're there yet. But I do know that there are people who are very committed to ensuring that we have a system that embraces fair, equitable pay for everyone. And I'm very proud of the work that's being done, even at the system level, on the DEI task force, and bring people together to have these conversations, because oftentimes they're difficult, or they're awkward, or they're not navigated or as open. You said you're going to be really open and honest. I think these are all steps towards making that happen.
And one thing I'll just add to the end, here lately I've had a lot of women express how there are differences in the way that women are perceived when we actually speak up or speak out. Often when a woman is addressing an issue or does not agree or is expressing how she feels, it will a lot of times be perceived as she's emotional, right? But if a man at the table does the same thing, he's assertive or confident. The terms are different. And I think that because of the gender norms that we experience, it makes a lot of women feel stifled in their voice, like not feel that they can really say what they really want to say because it may be perceived a certain way. So I know for myself personally, I know that I talk with my hands. I know that my voice inflects, you know, not that I'm angry, but it will inflect. So if I am talking about a difficult situation, I spend half of the time preparing what I'm going to say and the other half of the time how I'm going to say it, right? Because I don't want to be perceived as emotional when I'm actually just speaking to, you know, a serious point or idea or something that needs to happen. And I think that's something that, while I do believe that men have to go into a meeting and say, okay, let me make sure I don't lose my temper, I think there's a different type of preparation that has to happen, because for us, it's not just don't lose your temper, but monitor your body language, monitor the way, because if not, it's going to come off as you're emotional and you're in your feelings, right? And you're not being logical, and what you're saying is not going to be taken as seriously. So that's another battle that I think we have to fight.
Point. And that is a great point, because the fear then is that you lose your voice.
Yes.
And that's a dangerous place to be. You don't want to be misinterpreted, and I think being aggressive in professional settings is not appropriate.
Right.
However, you have to find, you talk about a work-life balance, but that voice balance as well, because, you know, and not to go into a deep area, but women losing their voices, that extends beyond a workplace. And that can become a very dangerous territory.
Yeah.
So a woman has to hold on. She's got to listen, but she also has to hold on to her voice. That's a balance as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too, just in general, there's been a lot of talk about attitudes toward women. It's a very relevant topic, and it is no stranger to the business arena either. And so I agree with you. We are concerned about small-minded people who view us in a certain way, which they only say those comments in private conversations. So monitor your private conversations.
Yeah.
But as women also, we cannot adopt those also ugly and negative views toward our own gender.
Yeah.
And so we cannot be quiet. And maybe we should just speak up and be received poorly by people with a damaged perspective. And so you don't want to go silent. And maybe if someone's got the wrong attitude toward women, they'll never see you as appropriately speaking up. And so it is an awkward balance for the workplace to not go to either extreme.
So if someone feels belittled, it's not necessarily that you failed in anything. It could be a completely different perspective. So, to then stifle that if there's a certain response to something, it's very important that a woman has that balance with her voice and her listening as well.
Yeah, and that we don't fall into the trap ourselves of having
Absolutely.
negative attitudes about how we speak up in a meeting.
Yes.
Have courage.
Yeah.
Courage.
And I just want to add
Yeah.
to Kayla, it's encouraging, Dr. Tinney, to hear you say that strides are being made to change a lot of these inequities and things that are just not right and fair. So it's good to hear that is a breath.
And I do believe.
And I realize we're not there.
We're not there, but we're, I think even having the
That is
conversation.
We're heading in the right direction.
Right.
Yes.
Dr. Tinney. What is the best piece of advice you can give a young woman who aspires to become a leader in higher education?
Oh goodness, how much time do we have? I'm going to go back to what I said. Listen, I love the fact, Christy, you mentioned to be humble, because we might not have all the answers. You have to do the work, right? You have to, and this is something that I've heard Dr. Wainwright say over and over, you have to learn it to earn it. You've got to go through some things. And so when there's an opportunity, raise your hand and go through that door. And I can tell you that, I'll just speak for myself as I've gone through this journey. When there was an opportunity that arose, and I knew in the end, as you said, you'll benefit from it. Just do it. I didn't ever approach and say, and how this is going to be something else that I'm doing, and how much more, and this is outside of my duty. If you are committed to the work and you know it's going to benefit the mission and the student, it will in turn, there'll be a return on that investment of time and value. Because if you're doing it for the right reasons, then take advantage of the opportunities that come before you and do it with your best intent. That's probably just one of the best pieces of advice. And finish things. If you're on an educational journey to get your master's degree, and we are in higher education, so I do value degrees, and it's an entire gambit, but we want people to have upward mobility. So if you're on that path, I would always push, finish it. Make sure you finish it. People say the hardest thing to do is start. You started, and I always argue that the hardest thing to do is to finish something. Yes. Right? So as you go through this path and you really are envisioning leadership opportunities, then continue on that path and commit to yourself, just like you commit to others. Have that same commitment to yourself that you're going to be successful in what you're envisioning.
I just wanted to add to what she's saying. We've all talked about just surrounding yourself with a great network of people. So I would just say find mentors that look like you, find mentors that you respect. How do you get a mentor? You find somebody, you smile, and you start asking questions, and that's how you learn from them. And I would just echo too, just do the job that's in front of you and do it very well. Do the job in front of you with quality, do it well, do it every single day, and don't talk bad about yourself. Don't limit yourself. Don't say, I don't know how. If there's an opportunity, say yes, and then figure out how to do it after that. And I think other people will let you know when you are not doing what they want. Don't do that to yourself. Just walk in confidence and do a good job with what you've got in front of you every day.
I would say two things. The best leader is going to be the biggest servant. Leadership is service, period. It's not about, oh, I have this big title, have a nice office. No, you need to be willing to work harder than anybody in your team. If that means answering the phones, if that means sweeping the floor, if that means greeting students at the door, if whatever that means, that's what you have to serve by example, not just lead by example. You have to serve by example. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is looking for opportunities to invest in others. You know, it's not always about you receiving credit. It's not always about you getting the accolades for an idea or an initiative. You get an idea in your mind, hand it to someone else and say, hey, this is something that can help to platform you to the next level, right? Yes, it's my idea, but I don't need to get credit for that, because the seed that I invest in that person then flourishes into something that benefits me in the end. Because if you're making an impact on our institution, then you're impacting me as well as a leader. So a lot of times the biggest testament of our leadership is what we do when the camera's not on or when people don't see us, is the behind the scenes development, encouraging, molding, cultivating, supporting, filling in when you need to. Those are the things that really speak a testament. Anybody who's ever came to me and said anything in appreciation for my leadership, they don't mention my degree. They don't mention my title. They don't mention what I said at commencement. They mention that one student that I took time to help, or that one person that I encouraged to go back to school, or that those are the things that really speak to you as a leader. And we have been blessed to have that example through our leader here, because that is what he does. He learns who your grandmama is, and he learns about all the personal things about you so that he can look for ways to cultivate you in some way. And that's what we speak to in his leadership. Those are the things we speak to in Dr. Tinney's leadership. And everyone on this panel, I can speak to saying, I know specific examples of things that you have done for people that nobody else in this room knows. And you do it because that's just in your heart to do. It's your passion, it's your purpose. And that's what puts you on a platform as such to even be able to speak to leadership. It's the things that we do when nobody's watching.
I think it's important also to be true to yourself and not change who you are. It's not, I've never searched for a title. Like, I was passionate for a position, for the responsibilities of that position. I didn't change who I was to be in a leadership role. I also think your morals and your values, you don't change who you are as a person. And I think when you do that, also, it makes you focus on what's in your control. If I focus on what's in Lizette's control, my attitude, my passion, my work ethic, my focus on the mission, then it doesn't matter what else is going on the outside that might negatively impact us. You know, some of the evil that's out there. You focus on yourself and you focus on what's on in your control, and you make the world a better place in turn by being able to do that.
Thank you, ladies. Finally, are there any final thoughts before we take questions from our virtual audience?
I'm just going to add to the leadership advice: have a thick skin. Have a really thick skin.
Develop one.
Yes. Or develop one. Yes. Yes. When you hear that leadership is lonely, it is.
Yeah.
As you, and particularly as a female, and you navigate, as you said, just support each other, but that won't always be the case. So you need to be able to navigate and manage that, and having a thick skin helps.
And Kayla, I just want to add to that, the thing that helped me the most, it does not hurt to have a good, strong prayer partner.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody that you can go to really undergird you there, because a lot of times in leadership, we need divine intervention that only God can bring. So a good prayer partner does not hurt.
That's a great way to end this. That's a great way to end this, Ms. Taylor.
This is great. I don't have any more script. This is great. This is really great. I do appreciate the opportunity to sit here and experience this with all of you. Dr. Donaldson, do we have any questions? We do not have any questions from our virtual audience, but I think we got a lot covered in here, just kind of with the conversation. So again, if you guys want to add anything, but if not, this is great.
It was great being with all of y'all today. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for the
I appreciate our
opportunity.
system. Like Dr. Tinney said, I mean, everybody from Dr. Wainwright to Dr. Sullivan, Dr. Jim Carlson, we have great male leaders that encourage us and find what we can bring to the table, and they help cultivate that. And so I'm very appreciative of our male chancellors and Dr. Sullivan for giving us these opportunities and opening the door for us.
Well, I just want to say thank you, ladies, for agreeing to do this. This is the first time that we have had any sort of panel of this nature. And I just really wanted to be conversational, and it has been kind of this girl chat, just to talk about our experiences. Each and every time I'm around you, I learn from you. And so I just appreciate you being open and honest in this process, hoping that we can encourage someone else. If you have aspirations to be a leader as a woman, there is nothing standing in your way but yourself. And so as you see, we have various leaders in our system who are willing to encourage and support you. So feel free to reach out if you have questions, or if you have concerns, if there's a question that you had that you were kind of timid about asking, you can always connect with me and I can get you to the appropriate person if it's to a specific individual. But I do again appreciate you all for agreeing to do this. Thank you everyone who is tuning in. Don't forget to tune in on next week. So next week we have another treat for you all. That's going to be our health sciences panel, our trailblazers in health sciences. We have been blessed to have 3 female CEOs of hospitals, which is unheard of. In our service area, we have 3 CEOs of hospitals, and they all have agreed to serve on the panel for health sciences, women health sciences. So we're super excited about that. You'll also hear some history about several women who have made an impact in the health sciences field during that day. We have some of our nursing instructors who are pulling together a presentation to talk about several trailblazers in the field. So we're excited about that. Thank you all for tuning in, and we hope to see you next week.
Bye.